Your home heating system has one fatal flaw. It needs the grid to survive. In 2021, 4.5 million Texas families lost heat within hours, and 246 people died in their own homes. Today, I'm showing you the exact $3 blackout survival method FEMA never told you existed. Most people believe a blackout is just an inconvenience. They picture a few candles, a flashlight, maybe a night or two sleeping in extra blankets before the lights flicker back on. That comfortable assumption is exactly what will get your family killed. The modern American home is not a shelter. It is a life support machine that requires an uninterrupted flow of electricity to function at every single level. Your furnace, even if it runs on natural gas, needs an electric igniter to fire. Your smart thermostat needs power to signal that igniter. Your pipes need that heat to avoid freezing and bursting inside your walls. And when the temperature outside drops to single digits, the interior of an unheated home reaches a life-threatening temperature in less than 12 hours. This is not speculation. This is exactly what happened in February of 2021, when an entire state, one of the wealthiest and most technologically advanced in the world, collapsed into a humanitarian catastrophe within 48 hours. Texas did not lose power because of a foreign missile. It lost power because a fragile, interconnected grid failed to account for weather that every climate scientist had already warned was coming. The system was brittle, overconfident, and unprepared. And when it broke, 246 Americans died in their homes, not in the wilderness, not in a war zone, in their living rooms, bedrooms, and bathtubs. The question you need to sit with right now is this: what makes you believe your grid is any different? Because the infrastructure running beneath your city is, on average, over 40 years old. The transmission lines feeding your neighborhood were designed for a climate and a demand load that no longer exists. And the utility companies responsible for maintaining that grid have spent the last 2 decades lobbying against mandatory winterization upgrades while paying out billions in executive compensation. Your safety is not their priority. Your bill is. And right now, as you watch this, there is a threat building against this infrastructure that makes the Texas storm look like a minor disruption. I will show you exactly what that threat is and why it is closer than anything you have seen on the mainstream news. But first, you need to understand the second layer of this trap, because the power going out is only the beginning. Within 4 hours of a regional grid failure, the cellular towers begin drawing down their backup batteries. Within 6 to 8 hours, the majority of those towers go offline. Your phone becomes a useless brick. Without cellular connectivity, the digital payment infrastructure collapses. Card readers go dark. ATMs lock up. And the people running to the grocery store with their debit cards find nothing but a clerk standing at the door, telling them the register cannot process transactions. But the deeper crisis, the one that most people never even consider, is what happens to your water. Municipal water systems rely on electric pumping stations to maintain pressure throughout the distribution network. When the grid fails, those pumps stop. And when the pumps stop, water pressure drops to zero. Your tap runs dry. Your toilet will not flush. And if the temperature is below freezing, the water sitting in exposed pipes throughout your neighborhood begins to expand and crack those pipes from the inside out. A 3-day blackout does not just leave you cold and hungry. It leaves you cold, hungry, thirsty, and sitting in a home that may be structurally damaged by the time power returns. And I am going to show you the exact $2 household trick that bypasses the water trap entirely later in this breakdown. Now I want to talk about something that the financial press and the mainstream media are carefully avoiding. While the public narrative has been focused on inflation, interest rates, and election cycles, a very specific class of people has been moving quietly and decisively. In the last 3 years, more than 90 private bunker communities have been established across the United States, New Zealand, and Scandinavia. These are not crude underground shelters. They are self-contained, off-grid compounds with independent water wells, diesel generation, years of freeze-dried food supply, and independent medical facilities. The buyers are not doomsday cultists. They are tech executives, hedge fund managers, former intelligence officials, and sitting members of Congress. Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal, holds a citizenship in New Zealand and has acquired significant land there, a country widely regarded by elite survival planners as one of the most geographically isolated and self-sufficient on Earth. Mark Zuckerberg has been constructing a reported 1,400-acre compound in Hawaii. a facility that internal construction documents describe as designed for complete self-sufficiency. These men have access to the same classified infrastructure vulnerability reports that FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security generate every year. And they are not building emergency escapes because they think everything is fine. They are building them because they have read the same threat assessments that you have never been shown. And what those assessments describe is not a hypothetical future event. It is an active, ongoing, and accelerating campaign against the physical infrastructure of the United States, the kind that does not announce itself until the morning the lights simply do not turn on. I will walk you through exactly what that campaign looks like and where its most dangerous trigger point sits right now. But before I do, let us talk about what you can actually do with what you already have starting today. The first practical move is understanding passive heat retention. Your home loses heat through three primary pathways: windows, door gaps, and uninsulated exterior walls. A standard residential window bleeds heat at a rate that can drop interior room temperature by as much as 10 degrees overnight during a hard freeze. The solution costs less than $3 and requires nothing more than a roll of plastic sheeting and a strip of tape. You create a dead air gap by taping a layer of clear plastic sheeting across the interior frame of every window in the rooms your family will occupy during an outage. That trapped air acts as an insulating barrier, cutting convective heat loss through the glass by up to 50%. This single step can extend the survivable temperature window inside your home by 6 to 10 hours in a hard freeze scenario. The second practical move is heat consolidation. Most people instinctively try to heat their entire house during a blackout. This is a fatal mistake. You are burning your body heat, your candles, and your fuel sources across hundreds of square feet of uninsulated space. The correct move is to identify one interior room with no exterior walls, ideally a bathroom or a central hallway, and seal it off using blankets hung over the door frames. A space as small as 60 square feet, occupied by 2 to 3 people, will retain body heat at a survivable level for hours without any additional heat source. Body heat alone, in a properly sealed small space, generates approximately 250 watts of thermal energy per person. In a 60 square foot room with 2 adults and a child, that is enough to maintain an interior temperature significantly above the hypothermia threshold. Even when outside temperatures fall below zero, the third practical move addresses water. And this is the $2 solution I mentioned earlier. Before any winter storm warning or at the first sign of grid instability, fill every bathtub in your home to capacity. Fill every large pot, every pitcher, every container you own. This is your passive water reserve, and it costs nothing beyond what you already pay for municipal water. A standard bathtub holds approximately 80 gallons. That is enough drinking, cooking, and sanitation water for a family of 4, for a minimum of 2 weeks. And if you add $1 worth of unscented liquid bleach per 100 gallons, that water becomes safe for drinking for up to 6 months. The fourth practical move is the one that this video is named for: a single, unscented pillar candle, the kind that costs between $1 and $3 at any dollar store or grocery outlet. Generates approximately 80 watts of continuous heat when burned in a confined space. Place 4 of those candles beneath a clay flower pot, the terracotta kind sold for under $1 at any garden center. Invert it over a metal trivet or a small stack of bricks. The clay absorbs and re-radiates the candle heat at a far slower, more consistent rate than open flame, turning $4 of hardware store materials into a radiant heat source that can raise the temperature of a small sealed room by 8 to 12 degrees and burn continuously for 30 or more hours on a single set of candles. This is not a survival trick invented by a prepper on the internet. It is basic thermodynamics, the same principle used in industrial radiant heaters, scaled down to the cost of a cup of coffee. FEMA's official guidance does not mention it. The Red Cross does not promote it. And the reason is not complicated. It costs almost nothing and requires no government assistance. Now I want to show you the specific threat that is actively building pressure against the grid right now, because everything I have described so far assumes that a blackout is caused by weather. The scenario that keeps infrastructure security analysts awake at night is different, and it is far more dangerous. The United States power grid is divided into 3 major interconnections: the Eastern, the Western, and the Texas interconnection. These interconnections are managed through approximately 2,000 high-voltage transmission substations scattered across the country. Each of those substations contains a critical piece of hardware called a high-voltage transformer. These transformers take years to manufacture, cost between $3 and $10 million each, and the majority of them are built overseas, primarily in Germany, South Korea, and China. There are no meaningful strategic reserves of these transformers stored domestically. A 2019 report by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission concluded that the coordinated destruction of just 9 of these substations could cause a coast-to-coast blackout lasting 18 months. Not 18 hours, 18 months. And the threat vector that most concerns current infrastructure security analysts is not physical sabotage, although that has already occurred with a coordinated rifle attack on a California substation in 2013 that caused $17 million in damage and nearly cascaded into a regional blackout. The primary threat vector in 2024 and beyond is cyber intrusion. Foreign state actors, specifically units operating under the Russian GRU and Chinese PLA cyber commands, have already been confirmed to have placed dormant malware inside the operational technology networks of multiple U.S. utility providers. These are not theoretical penetrations. They have been confirmed by CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. In public advisories issued between 2020 and 2023, the malware is not currently active. It is positioned. It is waiting. And the trigger for its activation would not be a random criminal decision. It would be a geopolitical event, a moment of peak tension between nuclear powers, when disabling an adversary's civilian infrastructure carries maximum strategic leverage. We are living in that moment of peak tension right now. The war in Ukraine has drawn direct confrontation between NATO and Russian military doctrine. Tensions in the Taiwan Strait have pushed U.S.-China relations to their lowest point in 40 years. And both Russia and China have publicly, in their own state media, identified the U.S. civilian power grid as a legitimate military target in the event of direct conflict. Your furnace, your tap water, your grocery store's cold chain, your ability to access your own money, they are all downstream of a single system that has already been infiltrated by foreign military operatives and is being held at risk right now as a geopolitical bargaining chip. That is what the title of this video means. That is the real threat behind the $3 item. The item is not the point. The point is that when the grid goes dark, and the historical and geopolitical evidence says it is a matter of when, not if. The only people who survive the first 72 hours without casualty are the ones who never needed the grid to begin with. Gold and digital assets mean nothing if you cannot keep your family warm and fed when the grid goes dark. You need a practical, low-cost plan that the system doesn't want you to have. I have linked a short, independent survival presentation that explains this complete blackout protocol right below. To find it, if you are watching on your phone, just tap the title of this video right now. The description box will slide open, and you will see the official blue link at the very top. I will also leave it in the first pinned comment. Click it right now before this information is taken down.